Welcome to another video. This is going to be a quick little update video on a recent video that I made. It was a 3D printing project called Copper Vortex, and there was a missing chapter, so to say, about the Blender part. Because at that time I didn't know I wanted to create a video. So that part was missing, and there were some questions in the comments about how I created the design in Blender. So this is a quick little update video on that. So first of all, start out in Blender. I begin most projects from scratch, and then there are some settings that I tweak. Render engine, I use cycles, GPU compute, because I have a nice graphics card that supports it. And then for the units, because if we hit N, we just create a new plane, for example. And we can see at this point we are in meters, and meters don't really work in the BambuLab software. So we're going to adjust the units for this. And I'm going to put the units at 0.01. And this still shows meters. If you want this different by preference, you can also change that here. For example, centimeters. Then it will be different. Yeah, differently shown here. But I prefer the meters, so I'll leave it at that. And something else that this brings with it is, as you can see now, our grid is gone. Or it's very large and not really usable. So we're going to change that as well. And that's under this viewport overlay menu. And you also set that to 0.1 or 0.01. And as you can see, this also puts our grid into centimeter territory. So we have a plane that's 2 centimeters wide in both directions, and our grid matches that. So now we have a proper perspective and scale which we can work with. So from there, I'm going to just reference the previous project in dimensions. So let's put this at 0.84 centimeters by 0.6. So 84 centimeters by 60 centimeters. That was the scale. Let me hide the light on the camera for a moment. We don't need those now. And I spent hours on the previous project just testing things out, working things, tweaking things. I'm not going to do that now. I'm just going to show the rough techniques that I used to get to the end result, which ended up giving me the result that you saw probably in the previous video. It's a nice geometric shapes and something that you can play with and create infinite design possibilities. So once you have your plane, then we're going to tap to go into the edit view. And then Ctrl R to cut it, or divide it into multiple pieces. Now it cuts on the edge where your mouse is, so for this direction my grid was 15 by 21. So for this to work we need 14 cuts. Now you can scroll up and down to increase the number, but you can also use your numpad or the numbers. Just type 14, hit enter, and it's still yellow, so you can move it around now. Just don't do anything. So I right click now, then it goes to the default, or you can just hit enter twice before moving your mouse and you're good. And in the opposite direction, because we need 21 rows, we need 20 cuts. So Ctrl R again, put the mouse on the right axis, hit 20, enter, enter, and you're done. There's your basic grid. Now, if you want a hex grid or something else, that's a little bit more complex, and I haven't worked that one out yet, but that's something I have in mind for possibly a future project. Now, this is our main grid. So first of all, I'm going to hit A to select all, E to go upward, and then it's about 0.004, should be about 4 millimeters. We snap to this axis, we can check it using Alt and the scroll wheel to snap to a certain view. So you can see this is now 4 millimeters up. So that's a basic thickness we have now. So you have a separated bottom layer from the grid. Now with these items all selected, all these vertices, I'm going to hit 3. This will switch us to the faces mode. And now I can use I to inset them. Now, this is not what we want. I want an individual face on, or inset on all the faces. So if you look here, in the bottom of my screen, the mouse keeps transferring. But in the left bottom corner of the screen, there are some hotkeys. So if you hit I once again, it goes to individual faces. Now, I think there's one thing I forgot. As you can see, they are not proper squares now. That's not what we want. We have to right click to cancel. Hit escape or top to go out. And as you can see, because we scaled to this dimension from the 2 centimeters, it's not properly scaled to the scale in Blender. So we want these to be properly 1. So we're going to hit Ctrl A, and then we're going to apply all transforms. This resets our scale to the dimensions that we have now. So if we tap back into edit mode, now I don't want all the surfaces, so I'm going to tilt it and snap it to this view. Alt Z to go to the see-through view. No, the normal name for it. But we can now select only the top surfaces. If you get these little points also selected, that means you take that face into selection as well. So I only want the top ones. I'm going to avoid those in the center. Now we only have the top surfaces. Now we're going to try that again. With Alt Z to go out of the see-through mode. And I hit I again for the inset. And I'm going to hit I again to switch to individual faces. Now this is quite finicky. If you hold Shift, you can get more granular control, more precise. Okay, we're going to nice and small. These will be our top of the surfaces of our grid. So now that we still have those selected, I just left clicked to finish selecting it where I wanted to. We're going to hit G, Z to go on the Z axis and just pull them out a bit. And all these surfaces are lifting up. And now you have a nice thing to, nice geometric shapes. This looks fun already. But now for the even better part. We're going to look from the top. Again, snapping with Alt and then just dragging with the middle mouse. I'm selecting the center most grid piece. And then if we're going up here, there's proportional editing, or also shortcut key O. The key only works if you're not into any edit. So we can click it now. And if we do G and Z again, we can move this one. And you see the gray ring in the center? You can scroll now to manipulate how big the surface is that's proportionally edited. And this is how you can create really cool looking geometric shapes and manipulations on the grid that we have. But as you can probably tell, there's already one issue that we run into. This is proportional editing everything within this sphere. So also the bottom. And that's something that's not really usable for our purpose, because when you 3D print something, you want a nice flat surface in the bottom. So I'm going to Ctrl Z that edit, just reverse it. And what we can do now is I'm going to select the bottom layers, Alt Z to go to the, I think it's orthographic or something, but so you get the see-through view. And then we can select all these bottom faces. And then I press H to hide them. And we can even go one step further and use these vertices to hide. Ctrl Z, and I still have those selected. As you can see, those in the center, these vertices are not with the selection. I'm going to hit 1 to go to the vertices. And now we can select those as well. And then we hide those. So now we only have our top vertices visible. So we're going to select the center again. Or you can switch to faces, only the center face. And if we now do G and Z with the proportional editing, you can see it only lifts those surfaces. And if we switch back with Alt H to make everything visible again, you can see that the bottom is still where we started with. So with hiding selected layers or faces, you can avoid them being manipulated with the proportional editing. So let's select them again. So this, let's hide it again. But as you can see, this doesn't work because the faces don't take these vertices. So I really want to switch to 1 to the vertice mode, or the ability to select the vertices and also hide those. And now we can manipulate these to do what we want. Now for the vortex item, you also have to be aware of what is selected up here. It's at medium point now. So if, for example, we can twist this. So I pressed R for rotate now. And we can create a nice little vortex. Now I press Alt H again to view everything. And now you can see we have a nice little twist going on in the center, and the bottom is still where it was. Nothing moved, nothing changed. That's how we want it. I'm just going to press Ctrl Z again to just hide it. But if, for example, we take these 4 now to create a little bit more dynamic than just one twist in the center. This is what I did with the other one as well, on all 4 corners. So G and Z, just a little bit higher. Now we're going to rotate them. Rotate on the Z axis. As you can see now, it all twists in one direction. And that's not really what we want. So for this, it's important to switch from, for example, medium point to individual origins. That means that every selection that you have will get its own origin point from which it will interact. So if we press rotate on the z-axis now, they all twist on their own axes. And we can manipulate the field which reacts with the proportional editing again. So we make it a bit smaller, and then it will only react on a smaller circumference from what you've selected. So we can create a few nice little vortexes next to it, or however large that you want. Now if you press Alt-H again to show everything, you have basically design that I created for the Copper Vortex project. So yeah, it's a lot of fun to play around with, and I did a lot of tweaking to see how far I could go to create the most impactful effect, so to say. And I also watched the height because I didn't want the total project to exceed something like 15 centimeters poking out of the wall. So yeah, this is the basic techniques and functions that I used in Blender to create this. You can also try out a few colors here. If you find the hex color, for example, for the copper or something, you can just put it in and you can get some nice results, what it should look like as well. So if we go to the rendered view, for example, now we put a new plane underneath it. That's a bit large, probably. Yeah, 2 is fine. Now we put the light back on. If we can find it. So you can get a nice little idea of how the light will react and how your project will look in Blender already on the wall, for example. So yeah, there's a lot to play around with and a lot to experiment with and endless possibilities. That's one of the beautiful things about Blender, I think. But yeah, let me know what you think. Let me know if this video was in any shape, way or form useful or entertaining for you. If you learned something new, that's the most beautiful part of YouTube, I think. We can just share endless knowledge and fun projects. So yeah, also let me know if you create something with this technique. I'm looking forward to seeing your projects as well. So this is it, a short little video on the Copper Vortex 3D print project, and hopefully this provides an answer to some of the questions that you had. Thank you for watching. Like the video if you liked it, subscribe if you want to see more of my future content, and I hope to see you in the next one.